What's the perfect book to kick off a year? I think a lot of readers chase that new year, new me feeling at the beginning of the year. We want that 5-star read. We want to make those thematic connections to our lives. Or maybe we just want to kickstart the year with something light and fun. And last year, I started the year with A Little Life, and that book sent me into a month-long reading slump. And so, not this time. I decided things would be different. This year, I wanted to begin the year with a book that inspired me to explore a little bit more. And so, I collaborated with 3 other incredible booktubers to create this new year reading list. And this is what we recommend for the month of January. So, if you're looking for some books to kickstart the year with, these are books that you need to have on your radar.
Oftentimes when we say the word exploration, it's placed into this ironic box where it's just represented by the new places where we go. What I enjoy about 2001: A Space Odyssey is that it is a reminder that exploration is less about the new places that we go, and it truly is more about what we become when we move past that place of uncomfortability. This really explores exploration as evolution. This was a novel that was worked in tandem at the same time as the movie release. So 1968, you have Arthur C. Clarke working with Stanley Kubrick. You have these two really brilliant minds who also exercise different portions of their minds. They both had the same goal of wanting to make sure that they developed something that could be rooted in both science fiction and science fact, so that many years from now that there could be this sustained mythic grandeur, as well as having something that could be scientifically compelling. I love it because it really does represent this creative leap where you have two things working at the same time to support each other. You have the novel being developed and you have the movie being developed, and then you have this audience who's able to look at both of them, see the differences, and then really enjoy all the things that it has in common. At its core, 2001: A Space Odyssey is really about humanity when it takes these huge leaps forward. You have this black monolith that shows up at different periods of time, and then every time it shows up, then there's this movement for humanity. So with the earliest humans, it shows up and they develop more. You find this black monolith under the moon, and all of a sudden that's signaling to humans, okay, we need to go into deep space. Because they go into deep space, there's all these different inner workings with the development of AI and this discussion with the ship AI. There are these things that are unsettling. Deep space in itself is mythic, as we already discussed earlier. I just love this book because of the creativity that it takes to make you pause and to make you see the development and the movement past and then reflect on what was. I'll truly contend that this book is more relevant now than ever, especially as we see AI developing at a rapid rate, because you see a relationship here with AI where it's really posing the question, what happens when AI starts to advance further than we do?
Hi everyone, my name is Kendra, Reading with Kendra on YouTube, and I just want to say thank you to Jonathan for inviting me to participate in this collab. I think it's super fun when you get a bunch of creators together to talk about a shared interest, so thank you very much. Today I want to talk about The Woman by Kristin Hanna, a beautifully written historical fiction novel that takes place during the Vietnam War. So it starts off with us meeting our main character, Frances. She comes from a family that sees men going to war as very honorable and very brave, but also sees women having one job, which is getting married and having kids. So the book opens up with them having a party for her brother's send off to war, and she talks to one of her brother's friends who basically was saying that women can be heroes, and that lights a spark in Frances. And she wants to make her parents proud, and I also think she wants to make herself feel successful in some ways. So she decides to enlist in the army as a nurse, and turns out that her parents do not see this as honorable, but it was too late and she was committed and she went off to war. While half the story starts off with her in the war and her time in the war, the other half looks at how hard it was for her to come back after the war, how poorly society treated her. Society didn't even see women as being in the Vietnam War. They basically said that, oh, you're not in war because you didn't fight in combat. So the second half of this book really looks at the struggles Frances had mentally coming back from the war and how she overcame that. But I truly believe this book is for anyone because it just shines light on how crucial women played during this time period. It's not cool to diminish women. Even to this day, there's still people out there that see women as weaker or not as successful as men. And I think it's still such an important message that we uplift and we praise these stories where women are heroes and women are important. And I thought this story was beautifully written. After reading this book, I am so excited to read a bunch more historical fiction, and I definitely highly recommend The Woman by Kristin Hanna. I think it was a really easy read if you're not typically used to the historical fiction genre. I didn't really read historical fiction, so I was a little nervous because I wasn't sure what to expect, and I thought it was quite an easy story to follow, but also a very emotional story. Be prepared to feel all the emotions. Like I mentioned, the first half of the book is her time during war, so you're going to be reading a lot of traumatic things, especially because Frances was a nurse during the war. So be prepared to read a lot about her nurse journeys, but then also be prepared for some romance, be prepared for a lot of really heavy things that came after the war. I definitely think you should read trigger warnings for this book too if you are easily triggered. But overall, I rated the book a 5 out of 5. I was so happy to start with a 5-star read at the beginning of the year. And I hope that this inspires you to read the book. Anyways, I don't know how this video is formatted, so I'm excited to see what other people recommend.
A few moments later.
I was just reading my current book. I'm reading Beartown by Frederick Backman, and I thought about a theme from The Woman that I don't think I mentioned in my video earlier, but I wanted to touch on, and that was the theme of friendship. That was a huge thing, especially in the second half of the book. There was many of times when Frances did not feel supported by her family or felt the love that she wanted from her family, but where she found it was in the friendship she had with her female friends. It was her female friends that really were there to support her, that were there for her when she was going through hard times, and that would do anything to help Frances. And I think that was just a really important thing to talk about. I feel like there's just so much power in good friendships. And then it also kind of just goes to show that your chosen family can be your family, if that makes sense. And if your chosen family is the one that you consider family, that's perfectly fine. I feel like at the end of the day, family are people that will show up for you, who will support you, who will love you unconditionally, whether they're blood or not. So anyways, I just want to add that in because that was actually quite a large theme, and I feel like I don't know how I missed that when I first was talking about the book. Hope you like my little talking segment.
Hello everyone, my name is Kimia from Kimia's Book Nook, and I'm very excited to share 2 books for this video. First, we have the Murderbort series by Martha Wells. This series is fantastic for anybody who has never really read sci-fi or is not really a big fan of the genre, which myself included. I felt these series are absolutely just great and so different compared to usual sci-fi books. We are following this security unit android that it's part sort of human, sort of a robot, and he much rather to just sit and watch TV instead of dealing with humans. And so we are following him through this journey in a world that it's his job to sort of provide security for his clients. And the reason that I really enjoy these series and I love them, it's because there are 7 books out already, and out of the 7, 5 of them are pretty short, very quick, very witty, dry humor sort of a book, and they're very plot driven, and they are quick to the point, and that's the reason that I very much enjoyed it, because while you get a sense of this universe that these people are living in, there's not too much world building going on, and that makes it a little bit more approachable. And the main focus of the series is more about our choices, our identities, and how we deal with different situations when it comes to a person that its main job is to provide security in a sort of a dangerous environment, and like the PTSD that comes with it and things of that nature. And that was the reason that I found these series very much more fiction compared to sci-fi in a sense, because like sure, we have all those enjoyable sci-fi elements. Again, we have a robot, we are outer space, and we are like sort of dealing with the politics of those different planets and those different sort of clients that he's dealing with. But at the same time, those are not really the main focus, and that was the reason I felt that if you want to start the year sort of trying a new genre, this would be a great book for that. And the second book that I wanted to recommend recommend for this video. It's one of my all-time favorite. It's a 7.5 Death of Evelyn Hardcastle by Stuart Turton. And the reason that I feel this is a great book to start the year with, it's because sometimes during all of these like very dark, long nights that we're not really in the mood to do anything, a very fast page turner, it's what we're looking for to sort of get us back into the rhythm of reading. And I feel like mysteries and thrillers are the best genre for that. And this book, it's sort of it's a mystery book. It has very much the elements of like Agatha Christie books that you are trying to find out who did it. But the beauty of this book is that the main character, he wakes up every day in somebody else's bodies, and that's how he's trying to gather all of the information and the clues to figure out who did it. And that's the reason that when I read this book for the first time, I couldn't put it down. I literally stayed up all night to be able to finish it because I was just so fascinated by the world building and the elements of like you are trying to figure out this crime and you keep guessing and it's not exactly the right answer. So it's a fantastic book if you are sort of like in a reading slump, or you're having a hard time, or you're planning to get back into the reading. I feel like the page turner or like short books are the best option for that. And because of that, I highly recommend this book. I hope you give these two books a try and enjoy them as much as I did. And that's it. Thank you. Bye.
So for the month of January, I decided to kick off the year with the Traveling Cat Chronicles by Hiro Harikawa. This is one of those slice of life, cozy fiction books that have all the emotional feels. And I think what makes this a unique read is that a good chunk of the book is written from the perspective of the cat Nana. He's a stray at the beginning of the novel and is rescued by this man named Satoru. And at first, Nana doesn't want to be rescued. He's a very snarky cat. He likes to hunt for food. He even likes to be free. But eventually he gives into being a house cat and just becomes the ultimate ride or die. And so if you're a cat person, you're gonna really enjoy reading his internal thoughts on human behavior. Him and Satoru have really funny conversations together and they just become the perfect roommates. And so the rest of the novel kind of takes us on this countrywide road trip across Japan's countryside to visit Satoru's childhood friends. And through this road trip, we learn about Satoru's childhood and why he's taken the road trip in the first place. And so I would say reading something like this kind of reminds me of something like Mitch Albom's Tuesdays with Morrie or The 5 People You Meet in Heaven. It's similar in how you meet all of these characters and get to see how their lives intertwine. And so there's a lot of flashbacks in the narrative that touch on themes of kindness, connection, and regret. And it has that gentle philosophy style that I think works really well with the relationship between a man and his cat. And it just feels like a warm hug, to be honest. There was this line that really hit me, and they're both traveling in the car, and the cat says, "There's still a lot of things that the two of us have never seen before." And it just reminded me so much of my relationships with my dogs. We would take our dogs on trips, the beach, we'd get them the pup cups, the In-N-Out patties, all the car rides. We just really wanted our dogs to experience life too. And so I think this book is a great one to start the year with if you're looking for a reminder to spend more time with the people that you love, make those memories, eat the ice cream, and just appreciate the presence of those around you. That's my book. I want to end this by giving a big thank you to Andre, Kendra, and Kimia for joining me in this video. Please do yourself a favor and go check out their channels. I've linked them all in the descriptions. Give them a follow, and I promise your TBR list will thank you later. And before we go, I want to hear from you. What's a book that you recommend others start the year with? Let us know in the comments. I'm really looking forward to a great year of reading. So I thank you all for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.